Have you ever wondered why facing the same task, the same challenge, some people move through it as casually as a walk in the park while you feel as if you're carrying a massive boulder on your back? You look at them and think to yourself, they must have been given some kind of superhuman strength, or maybe life is just easier for them. But here's the truth: strong people don't do hard work. They are simply used to doing hard things. Imagine a blacksmith. On the first day, the heat of the furnace makes him gasp for air, and the weight of the hammer leaves his arms shaking. That is a hard thing. But 10 years later, the same furnace, the same hammer, he moves them with the smoothness of music. The work did not become lighter. The blacksmith became stronger. Most people spend their entire lives praying for difficulties to disappear. They choose the path of least resistance, avoid uncomfortable conversations, and turn down risky projects. But here's the thing: what you avoid today becomes the ghost that haunts you tomorrow. It doesn't vanish. It accumulates into massive regret. On the other hand, what you bravely face today, even if it hurts or scares you, is exactly what will free you in the future. The human brain is a remarkable machine. It adapts very quickly to whatever is repeated. When you train yourself to do hard things every day, your normal threshold rises to an entirely new level. In today's video, I want to invite you on a journey to redefine yourself. We are not searching for ease. We are searching for growth. I will share with you the blueprint for turning your greatest fears into your most ordinary habits. Do not wait for instant results. Wait for a transformation that happens deep inside you, and stay until the very end of the video, because I will show you why habits are far more powerful than motivation. Principle 1: hard things are only hard at the beginning. There is a psychological truth most of us get trapped by. We often confuse unfamiliar with difficult. When you start a new job, a new habit, or a new business venture, your brain sends out danger signals. Everything feels complicated, heavy, and overwhelming. But the truth is, hard things are only hard at the starting line. Watch a massive jet airplane on the runway. To lift hundreds of tons of steel into the sky, it must burn enormous amounts of fuel and push its engines to maximum power during the brief minutes of takeoff. That is the hardest phase. Wind resistance, gravity, everything is working against it. But once it reaches cruising altitude, the plane glides through the air with surprising ease, using far less energy than it did at the beginning. Human beings are the same. Every major change requires maximum force at the start. I remember the early days of learning how to manage my finances. For someone buried in debt like I was, tracking every single dollar felt like torture. It was so hard that I wanted to quit after the first week. I told myself, this is a waste of time. But it wasn't meaningless, it was just hard because I had never done it before. I was fighting decades of lazy, deeply ingrained habits. The success stories of great entrepreneurs before 2009 follow the same rule. Look at Henry Ford and his insistence on the V8 engine. At the time, his engineers said it was impossible to cast an 8-cylinder engine in a single block. It was an unimaginable hard thing. Ford didn't argue. He simply told them to keep working. They failed again and again for an entire year. But Ford understood that difficulty is a temporary state of inexperience. Eventually, that impossible idea became the new standard of the global automotive industry. So if today you feel exhausted by a new beginning, if waking up at 5 a.m. to read feels like a burden, or staring at accounting spreadsheets feels like a nightmare smile, that is the sign you are in the takeoff phase. You are spending 80% of your energy breaking through the inertia of the past. Do not judge your ability based on the struggle of the first week. Real strength is not how you feel at the beginning, but whether you persist long enough to turn unfamiliar pain into instinct. I once made the mistake of believing that if something felt too hard, it probably wasn't meant for me. I was wrong. In reality, if something is hard, that is exactly where the greatest rewards are hidden. Remember this: the difficulty of a task decreases in direct proportion to the number of times you do it. When you face it long enough, fear fades, leaving only mastery. And that is just the beginning. The next principle will make you reconsider how you live each day and understand why raising your standards matters more than wishing for an easy life. Principle 2: successful people don't live easier lives. They are stronger. There is a dangerous illusion the world loves to sell us: the image of successful people living carefree lives where all difficulties magically disappear. We see them on luxury yachts in the Mediterranean or in high-rise offices overlooking entire cities, and we assume they have escaped hard things. Let me correct that. Thinking successful people do not live easier lives than you. They are simply much stronger. My philosophy has always been this: don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. The wind will still blow, economic storms will still come, and relationship challenges will still exist. You can't change the direction of the wind, but you can change how you set your sails. Whether something feels hard or easy depends not on the task itself, but on the gap between your abilities and reality's demands. Imagine life as a scale from 1 to 10. If your current ability is at level 2, a level 5 problem will feel crushing and keep you awake at night. But if you train, learn, and grow to level 8, that same level 5 problem becomes a simple warm-up exercise. The problem didn't shrink, you grew. During the 1,970 seconds and 1,980 seconds, I watched countless entrepreneurs build empires from nothing. They didn't start by searching for easy work. They threw themselves into the harshest markets and faced relentless rejection. They knew that every hard problem they solved upgraded their mental muscles. Winners are not those who never fail. They are those who build inner strength strong enough to treat failure as data. I used to envy people who seemed to have it all without effort. Then I realized ease is a trap. If you only do easy things, life becomes incredibly hard. But if you are willing to do hard things, life becomes easier. Comfort too early weakens your will and leaves you fragile in the face of life's inevitable shocks. I made the same mistake when I chased shortcuts to success without changing who I was inside. The price I paid was years of stagnation. I learned that true success is not what you own, but who you become, and you can only become greater by being forged in the fire of real challenges. Never complain about the weight of the load on your shoulders. Focus on making your shoulders stronger. When you raise your standards and accept that difficulty is part of the game, your entire mindset shifts. You stop fearing big projects and risky decisions because you know you have built enough inner capital to handle them. But remember, this strength does not come from bursts of effort. It comes from something far more powerful, something I will share with you next, a biological mechanism that turns pressure into part of your breathing. Principle 3, the brain adapts very quickly to repetition. Did you know the greatest barrier between you and greatness is not talent, but a lack of understanding of how your internal machinery works? There is something extraordinary about human beings. Our brains adapt very quickly to repeated exposure. What you call a hard thing today is simply a new signal your brain hasn't mapped yet. But if you force it to face that signal long enough and consistently enough, it will build neural highways that turn it into normal. Watch a farmer starting his work. On the first day in the fields, the blazing sun and the weight of the plow exhaust him within hours. That is the response of an unprepared body. But after one season, then another, his skin thickens, his muscles harden, and most importantly, his mind no longer treats the sun as an enemy. The hard thing becomes his new standard. He no longer needs willpower to endure it. He is simply living in his new reality. This is the secret of the most successful people I've ever met. They understand that repetition turns hard into standard. If you force yourself to make 50 uncomfortable sales calls every day by day 31, your heart rate no longer spikes when the phone rings. Why? Because your brain has classified that action as normal for survival. When you do hard things often enough, your definition of normal rises. I watched entrepreneurs during the economic hardships of the early 1,980 seconds. While the masses complained about how brutal the market was, these individuals chose relentless action. They repeated disciplined processes until discipline stopped feeling heavy and became part of their identity. They no longer needed external motivation because habit is always stronger than motivation. I once believed I needed inspiration to do great work. Then I learned a harsh truth: inspiration is unreliable. It shows up on sunny days and disappears in storms. Only adaptation through repetition creates stability. When you train yourself to do hard things even without inspiration, you are telling your brain, this is my standard, adapt to it. And the brain, as a loyal servant, will do exactly that. How long has it been since you truly challenged yourself enough to activate this adaptation mechanism? Are you letting your brain sleep inside easy, familiar habits, or are you feeding it difficulty so it can upgrade? Remember this: if you don't choose hard things to adapt to, life will force you to adapt to the hardships of poverty and regret. And never forget, hard things are only hard at the beginning. The pain you feel today is the process of old neural connections breaking to make room for a stronger version of you. Don't quit when things start to feel hot. That is precisely when real change is happening. If these lessons truly resonate with you, hit subscribe to continue this journey with me, where we explore principles that help you move further every single day. Principle 4: habits are stronger than motivation. We often deceive ourselves into believing that to do hard things, we need a burst of energy called motivation. You wake up, watch an inspirational video, feel fired up, and decide that today you're going to change the world. But then what happens? The next day it rains, you feel tired, and that motivation vanishes like smoke. You fall right back into your old habits. Remember this clearly. Motivation helps you start, but habits are what get you to the finish line. Why do I say habits are stronger than motivation? Because motivation is built on emotion, and emotions are as unpredictable as the weather. Habits, on the other hand, are built on discipline and repetition. When you do something hard long enough, it no longer drains your willpower. It becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth every morning. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth, do you? You simply do it because that's who you are. Success works the same way. It is the result of strong habits maintained, even when you feel zero excitement. I think back to the successful entrepreneurs I worked with in past decades. They were not people who woke up energized every single day. Some mornings they felt drained, surrounded by financial pressure. But they still showed up at the office, still made the critical calls, still tracked the numbers. They didn't work because they felt like it. They worked because it was their habit. They had trained themselves through repetition, turning hard work into their standard of living. I made the same mistake in my earlier years. I waited until I felt ready or inspired before writing or preparing my speeches. The result was that I wasted a tremendous amount of valuable time. I learned this lesson the hard way. Success is not a single explosive event. It is a chain of correct decisions repeated every day. When you build a solid system of habits, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. Look at professional athletes before 2009. They trained in freezing cold when their bodies ached and their minds screamed for rest. They didn't do it because they had more motivation than you. They did it because training had become part of their identity. For them, brutal practice was simply normal. If you want to change your life, stop chasing temporary emotions and start building unbreakable discipline. How much time are you spending each day building habits that move you forward? Are you waiting for motivation to knock before doing hard work? Remember, this life doesn't pay you for what you plan to do. It pays you for what you do. Consistently. Choose one hard thing and do it every day. That is the only way excellence becomes instinct. And once you master the power of habits, you will discover a harsher truth about the cost of avoidance, something I will share next. Principle 5. What you avoid today will haunt you tomorrow. There is an unbreakable law of the universe. Every challenge life throws at you is cumulative. You never truly escape a hard thing. You only postpone it to a later time with much higher interest. Remember my words. What you avoid today becomes the ghost that haunts you tomorrow. Why do I use the word haunt? Because hard things you refuse to face do not disappear. They sink into your subconscious and turn into insecurity, anxiety, and a quiet sense of guilt. Every time you look in the mirror, the person staring back knows exactly how you backed down from that challenge. That haunting grows over time, slowly eroding your self-respect until you no longer believe in your own ability. Imagine a young entrepreneur in the early 2000s standing before an opportunity to expand into a new market but afraid of the financial risks involved. He chooses safety, avoids tense negotiations and complex numbers. 1 year passes, his competitors take over that market. 2 years pass, his business starts falling behind. That initial avoidance doesn't just cost him money. It haunts him every night with the question, what if I had been braver back then? I've seen the same pattern with people who avoid exercising or learning new skills because it's too hard. They choose short-term comfort on the couch instead of pain in the gym. But the difficulty of exercising today is nothing compared to the difficulty of facing illness and weakness 10 or 20 years later. Life charges today's laziness with a future filled with emptiness and regret. I learned this truth deeply. The cost of discipline is always cheaper than the cost of regret. Regret weighs tons, discipline weighs ounces. When you avoid a difficult conversation with a loved one or a colleague, you are planting the seeds of a much larger breakdown in the future. What you don't resolve today becomes the trap waiting for you down the road. I made the same mistake when I was younger. I ran from responsibilities I thought were too heavy. And the result, they came back to me in worse forms, forcing me to deal with them reactively. I realized you cannot negotiate with destiny. You either choose to do hard work now and earn freedom, or you choose ease now and get chained by its consequences later. Ask yourself this, if I don't change today, what will my life look like in 5 years? Do you want to keep living under the shadow of procrastination, or do you want to stand upright and face it? Don't let tomorrow be stolen by the cowardice of today. But here's the good news. The moment you decide to stop avoiding, a powerful force appears to guide you forward. That force is liberation, and that's what we'll talk about next. Principle 6, what you face today will set you free tomorrow. There is a fascinating paradox I've observed over decades of life. The narrow gate is the one that leads to freedom. Most people choose the wide gate, the path of ease, avoidance, and compromise. But that road leads to a prison of anxiety and lack. Those who dare to walk through the narrow gate of hard things, who face their fears head on today, are the ones who hold the key to freedom tomorrow. Why does facing things bring liberation? Because fear is nothing more than a fog, and the only way to clear it is not to wait for it to drift away, but to walk straight through it. The moment you confront the most difficult client, sit down to untangle chaotic financial statements, or step onto a stage in front of thousands, that is the moment your psychological chains snap. You realize it wasn't as terrifying as I imagined. Confidence doesn't come from affirmations in the mirror. It comes from real victories over hard things. Look at pearl divers. They face crushing water, pressure, deep darkness, and real danger. But by choosing to face that difficulty, they retrieve priceless pearls, treasures that those who stay safely on shore will never touch. In my career before 2009, I met many exceptional leaders. What did they all have in common? They tackled the hardest problems first. Once the biggest problem was solved, the rest of the day, the month, even the year felt strangely light and free. I learned that every major change begins with a small moment of awakening, a decision to stop running. There was a time when I was terrified of facing my creditors. Every ringing phone made my heart jump. I avoided it for months until I realized I was living in a self-created hell. Then I decided to face it. I picked up the phone, called each one, explained my plan, and accepted every criticism. Do you know what happened? In that very moment, I felt free. The pressure was still there, the debt was still there, but the fear was gone. I had liberated my mind, so I could focus on creating value and paying it off. This freedom goes even deeper. It allows you to live proactively. When you're used to facing hard things, you no longer live defensively or fear the future. You know you can adapt and overcome. That is ultimate freedom, freedom from insecurity. I once believed I could achieve peace by avoiding trouble. The truth is, this peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to deal with it. Facing difficulty today is how you buy insurance for tomorrow's peace. Life will keep testing you, but when facing challenges becomes instinct, no challenge can imprison you. So which will you choose, the pain of discipline today or the pain of regret tomorrow? I hope you choose the first. Because beyond fear lies a land of limitless potential where the greatest lessons are waiting for you. But remember this, freedom only lasts when it's paired with a deep internal transformation, what I call principle number 7, the most important key of this entire video. Principle 7, the golden key. Don't wait for results, wait for inner transformation. The biggest mistake most people make when they begin doing a hard thing is that they become obsessed with results. They go to the gym and expect muscles in 1 week. They read books and expect wisdom in 1 month. They start a business and expect profits in 1 quarter. When results don't appear, they grow discouraged and conclude, this is too hard and it doesn't work. But listen carefully to me. Success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become. Here's the secret. The greatest reward of doing hard things is not the money you earn or the fame you gain, but the transformation that happens inside you. When you force yourself to do what 99% of people give up on, your mental structure changes. Your courage is forged. Your self-respect grows. That is the real asset. External results are merely a natural consequence, a mirror reflecting your inner growth. Imagine a blacksmith hammering a piece of glowing steel. He is not only creating a sharp sword, more importantly, through the repeated heavy strikes, his arms grow stronger, his eyes sharper, and his spirit more resolute. The sword may break or be lost, but the qualities he forged in the process remain with him forever. That is why I always say, the major value in life is not what you get. The major value in life is what you become. Throughout my career, I met many self-made millionaires in the late 20th century. I often asked them, if you lost everything tomorrow, what would you do? Their answer was always a confident smile. I'd start over, and this time it would be faster. Why? Because money can be lost, but the person they had become through thousands of hard things was permanent. They possessed the mindset of a champion, and that mindset would attract success again. I also went through periods where I was too impatient for financial results. I worked relentlessly and burned myself out because the numbers weren't growing fast enough. Then I realized I was trying to harvest before I had matured. I learned this lesson: don't wait for results, wait for inner change. When you grow into a bigger person, matching opportunities will find you. Instead of asking, what will I get? Start asking, who am I becoming through this work? I discovered that every major transformation begins with a very small awakening. The moment you accept that your current difficulties are a training ground for upgrading yourself, pressure turns into fuel. You stop working out of fear of lack and start working for the joy of growth. Life rewards persistence not only with money, but with a new version of you, stronger, more confident, and impossible to defeat. Are you working for money, or are you building assets that create money? Remember this, your greatest asset is your mindset and character. When you are accustomed to facing big challenges, when hard things become normal, the entire world becomes your playground. And that is why the next principle will help you solidify your position so you never return to your old self again. Principle 8, set a new standard for yourself. In life, you don't get what you want, you get what you accept. If you accept an average life, life will deliver average results. But when you train yourself to do hard things until they become normal, you perform a revolutionary act, you raise your personal standard. Understand this, normal is personal. For someone who has never run before, running 1 kilometer feels impossible. For a marathon runner, the first 10 kilometers are just a warm-up. Why the difference? Because their definition of normal exists on a higher level. When you force yourself to face challenges daily, you are not just solving tasks, you are redefining who you are. You are telling the universe, this level is now my minimum standard. I often observe the most successful organizations. The difference between a top company and a struggling one is not capital, it is the standard of its leaders. While average people are satisfied with doing just enough, exceptional people treat exceeding limits as a daily expectation. They do hard things, long meetings, detailed plans, personal sacrifices, until those things are no longer effort, but the very breath of the organization. I once fell into the trap of complacency myself. After achieving a certain level of financial success, I loosened my discipline. I stopped reading challenging books. I stopped delivering demanding speeches. And you know what happened? The moment I stopped raising my standards, the world began to pass me by. I learned this truth. Success is not a destination. It is a daily practice. If you don't actively seek the next hard thing, you will slowly be pulled backward by the gravity of comfort. Ask yourself, what is my current standard? If waking up early, studying 1 hour a day, or working with deep focus still feels hard, that means you have tremendous room to grow. Don't fear that, celebrate it. You've identified your edge. Your mission is to repeat those actions until they become boring, until you do them without thinking. And that is exactly when you must go find a new hard thing. True success is a series of correct decisions repeated daily, each based on a higher standard than yesterday. Never allow yourself to become too comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. When everything feels too easy, that is the moment you must be alert and ask, am I standing still? So how do you maintain this mindset without burning out? The answer lies in how you interpret and manage what happens inside your mind. Something I will share in the next principle. Principle 9, invest in mindset more than skills. There is a truth I emphasize in every speech I give. Your income rarely exceeds your level of personal development. Many people spend their lives chasing new skills, secret techniques, or quick formulas for success. They believe that if they learn one more trick, hard things will become easy. But the truth is this, how you think about hard things matters far more than knowing how to do them. Skills are tools. Mindset is the one who uses the tools. Why do I say you should invest in mindset? Because when your mindset changes, your attitude toward challenges changes. Instead of seeing a problem and feeling threatened, a strong mindset sees an upgrade opportunity. For someone with a growth mindset, hard things are not obstacles. They are tests confirming readiness for the next level of life. If you focus only on skills, you will panic when those skills become outdated. But if you invest in mindset, you can learn any skill needed to adapt to any era. Look at 2 employees in the same company in the 1,990 seconds. One focused solely on learning how to use a computer that was a skill. The other focused on understanding customer service, philosophy, and problem solving. That was mindset. When technology changed, the first had to start over in fear. The second, grounded in mindset, easily adopted new technology to serve a greater purpose. I learned that every major change begins with a small awakening in how we think. I made the same mistake early on when I worked for Mr. Schoaf. I complained about taxes, the government, and the company. I believed that if those things changed, my life would improve. He said to me, Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. I realized I didn't need better sales skills. I needed a mindset that took 100% responsibility for my life. The moment I stopped blaming and started owning everything, everything around me changed. Investing in mindset means dedicating time every day to enriching your mind. How much time are you spending daily to develop your thinking? Instead of only learning how to do, learn how to think. Read the works of great minds, engage in deep conversations, and most importantly, learn to observe your own thoughts. A powerful mindset turns the hardest challenges into the most valuable lessons Remember, this life punishes those who are lazy in their thinking with an empty future. Don't be one of them. Be the master of your mindset, the one who sees beauty in struggle and strength in discipline. But mindset and habits mean nothing without the first step. And that is why this final principle is the one that turns everything you've just heard into living reality. Principle 10. Take immediate action, choose one hard thing. You can listen to hundreds of my talks and read thousands of books on personal development, but if you never step out and take action, all of it is nothing more than glamorous wasted time. Knowledge without action is like a library locked behind closed doors. It has value, but it benefits no one. To make hard things become normal, you must take the most important step of all: act immediately. Why immediately? Because the distance between a great idea and a great reality is action. The human mind is exceptionally skilled at making excuses. If you give procrastination a voice, it will convince you that tomorrow is a better time, that you're not ready yet. But remember the airplane rule I mentioned earlier. A plane doesn't take off by waiting for calm winds. It takes off by pushing its engines to maximum power right where it is on the runway. I want to give you a challenge. Choose one hard thing and do it every day. Right now, think about something you've been avoiding for a long time. It could be waking up early to train your body, learning a new language, or writing the very first pages of your business plan. Don't choose the easiest thing. Choose the hardest one, the one you know will create the biggest change in your life. When you start doing it right now, you send a powerful message to your subconscious. I am in control. I am not a slave to circumstances. Look back at everything we've learned. Hard things are only hard at the beginning. Your brain adapts, habits replace motivation, and freedom comes from facing fear. But none of those mechanisms activate until you take the first action. Don't wait until you feel fearless to act. Act while you are afraid. That is real courage. Everything great begins with a small decision. Today may be that day for you, the day you stop running and start conquering. The day you decide that from now on, hard things are no longer your enemy, but your teacher guiding you to the highest level of growth. We have now walked through 10 principles for turning the harshest challenges into the most ordinary habits. Remember, this success is not a destination, it is a journey you commit to every single day. Don't let tomorrow be stolen by today's procrastination. You and I share one priceless gift today. Use it wisely. If you are truly serious about this journey, remember the golden key. Don't wait for results, wait for inner transformation. When who you are changes, the world around you will naturally shift with it. Don't pray for the burden to be lighter. Pray for your shoulders to be stronger. Which of these 10 principles made you think the most? And what is the hard thing you are choosing to do today? If you are on a journey of personal growth, leave a comment below and let me know you are still walking this path with me. I truly appreciate you staying until the end of this video. Please like and subscribe to the Jim Rohn Treasures channel so we can continue exploring timeless wisdom together. Wishing you a day filled with discipline and strength. I'll see you again in the next lessons.